Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday. Today is December 12th. We are looking at a clipper system that is moving through southern Ohio, eastern Indiana, and is in northeast Kentucky and eastern Kentucky, and it is starting to move into western West Virginia areas, expected to eventually head into West Virginia and cause possibly a few inches of snow for areas in West Virginia before it eventually moves out to sea. And then right behind it, we are looking at another clipper system right here in Montana, in South Dakota areas that is already developing. That is going to come along around the 13th to 14th, right as we are getting a major Arctic air blast. For example, being very, very, very cold temperatures, possibly a lot of field-like negatives across much of the Midwest and the northern U.S. areas. Possibly even negative 50 degrees in some areas for wind chills, which are feel like with the winds. So very, very cold temperatures expected from this event. I'll be breaking that all down, showing you guys the newest model runs. The short range model they're now showing what we can see, and they're a little bit more accurate, and they're agreeing on more snow than we were originally expected for areas in Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, and the Midwest areas. But let's go break that down now. Here is our GFS model showing our precipitation type and rate, showing blue for snow, green for rain, pink for sleet, and it shows our high pressure systems and our low pressure systems. So you can see that clipper system that I talked about in the intro, right here in areas on eastern Kentucky and southern Ohio and West Virginia areas as it moves into there. And then we see the other clipper system that's actively developing in the Pacific Northwest. It's expected to drop down and bring a few inches of snow. We can see as we go into the 13th to see that clipper system starts to drop down with that low pressure also coming with it. So to see it drop down by around the 13th afternoon on the 13th, which is tomorrow, so Saturday afternoon, we are expecting this clipper system to drop down and bring 1 to 5 inches across much of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. And even Ohio could get more than 5 inches possibly if you look at total snowfalls, because Ohio has 5 inches in just 24 hours. That does not include. This system looking like it will stay possibly in. It will be lingering in areas in Ohio for about a day or so. So we may get even more than 5 inches for areas like Ohio. Then after that clipper system moves through, we will be having a temporal heat wave. We can see a high pressure system starts to dominate much of the U.S. across on both sides, the north and the east and the west sides of the U.S. Dominating those areas. We still have a little bit of lake effect snow events for the far northern U.S. where the high pressure isn't dominating those areas yet. But then that's until we go around into the 16th, around into the 18th, and we start to see those high pressure systems weaken, at least for some areas. And we start to see those highs are all gone on the map. We're seeing more high pressure systems active. You start to see rain and snow start to mix down into areas in the Midwest. This is at this point it's too far out to know. This is about the 19th. Is about 7 days exactly out. Don't want to go much farther than that out, but after we get past 7 days, it's just not accurate, that forecast. But we're gonna have a temporal heat wave. I'll pop up the climate protection center map real quick on the screen when I edit this. But definitely are looking at a few inches of snow, and then we will be going into a temporal heat wave. So we will be getting very warm temperatures, which should hopefully immediately melt the snow. Personally, if you guys watched my last video, me personally, I am in Ohio. I'm in about central Ohio, and I'm expected to get that 1 to 5 inches of snow. We'll have to see how that plays out. At first, they're showing Ohio and Indiana areas getting about 1 to 3, and then the latest models yesterday all started agreeing on 1 to 5 to 1 to 6. So definitely looking at a very active, very strong winter storm, bringing very cold temperatures and a big snow event for these areas in the Midwest and the Northeast. Let's go look at our temperature anomalies and then our potential 24-hour snowfall totals, and then I will look at some other models also. Here are the 850 millibar temperature anomalies. The pinkish blue color is showing our below average temperatures for this time of year based off climatology, and the red is showing above average based off this time of year. So we see as we go into the 13th and 14th, afternoon time, so tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow night, which is that cold air, the polar vortex disruption, start to move down Arctic air from the polar vortex being disturbed. You see it move down into areas in Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois. All these areas on the East Coast and the Midwest and much of the Ohio Valley will get very below average temperatures. I did the conversion. 20 degrees less in Celsius is 66 degrees in Fahrenheit. So that's about 60 degrees below average for this time of year. We see right behind it that high pressure starts to dominate with very, very warm temperatures, above average temperatures for this time of year for a few days. And that eventually does move out. We actually does the GFS model high that lingering for kind of long just because no lows are dropping down far enough, but we are not expecting that high to last for that long. Only about until the 18th to 19th, but that there's no lows coming down to cool it back down. We'll have to see how this plays out. We're expecting much warmer temperatures for this time of year for a little bit after this major Arctic air blast comes down with that snow. Let's look at our potential 24-hour snowfall totals. Here's the 24-hour snowfall totals. We can see from that one event, 1 to 2 in northern Kentucky, and possibly in far western West Virginia, 1 to 2 also from that little clipper system. We could get up to a few isolated areas in Montana from this Arctic air blast in this clipper system that's coming with it. 1 to 4 to 5 in areas in South Dakota, same with Iowa, and Illinois could get 1 to 5, even more than that total, maybe possibly 6 to 7 total inches of snow for areas in the Midwest. With the this is only the 24-hour snowfall total. I will look at a different model showing the total snowfall totals when it be this closer range. But we can see expected 1 to 5 inches in 24-hour range across much of areas in Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and it even has West Virginia still having 9+ inches of snow, and areas in West Virginia in the 24-hour snowfall total, which is insane amounts of snow. And then you can see if we go a little bit ahead in time, we just get a bunch of lows going through Canada and the far northern U.S. because of that high pressure dominating and those warmer temperatures. Until we get another low drop down, we will have temporarily warmer temperatures for much of the U.S. Let's go look at the Euro model, the Canadian model, and the HRRR model. Here are the 24-hour snowfall totals on the European model. This model is a little bit different. This is completely, well, it's a little bit later. That's probably why, sorry. But still has that 1 inch area in Kentucky. That's about it for the snow. And we had some snow in areas in Illinois and Indiana last night. But then we see around in areas of Montana about 1 to 6 inches, 1 to 3 in the areas of South Dakota, 1 to 2 in areas in Iowa. And then we see 1 to 2 in areas in Illinois, 1 to 3, 1 to 3 to 4 in areas in Indiana. And then we see 1 to 4 to 5 in areas in Ohio. And then we see 1 to 6 in areas in Kentucky. I want to mention one thing real quick, guys. I'm using a little bit of a different ratio. You can see if you looked back at the video, you'd see the GFS model showed, this one showed a 10:1 ratio, which it doesn't really put in for account the cold for the snow, so unlike the other ratio, but it's my app is messing up and it won't let me log into my account, so I can't look at the other ratio, but it is a pro feature that it is not letting me log into my account. I have to figure that out after this video, but I apologize for that. So I would take the euro as a grain of salt. The euro also hasn't been that accurate lately. It keeps on changing back and forth. But it's still basically agreeing with at least 1 to 3 inches for areas in Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. Even if it's not the same ratio, that definitely could be more. I'm expecting 1 to 5, just based off the short range model are better. But let's go look at the Canadian weather model. Here's the 24-hour snowfall totals on the Canadian weather model, showing about an isolated area of a foot in Montana, 1 to 7+ inches in areas in far western North Dakota and far northwest South Dakota, most of South Dakota being 1 to 6 inches, much of Iowa getting 1 to 6 inches, much of Illinois getting 1 to 6 inches, same with Indiana getting 1 to 6 inches, and even Ohio getting 1 to 6, 7 inches. And West Virginia getting 1 to 7 inches. So the Canadian model is the Canadian weather model has insane amount of snow totals. If this happened, this would be a major snow event. If we had 1 to 7 inches across Iowa, South Dakota, Montana, North Dakota, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, and West Virginia all had 7 inches of snow from one system going down, that would be insane amounts of snow. A lot of snow. That'd be very dangerous to drive on the road. So make sure you guys, again, are not driving on the roads unless it's a must need. And if you are, make sure you guys are driving very slowly. Make sure you guys have your heat on, and do not go outside unless you have layers. I will show the temperatures, but I'm going to wait until I go into the short range model, which I'm going to do now, after I go all the way through this. I'm going to go look at the short range model now, which is where I will show the actual temperatures, the wind chills. I'll look at two different short range models, the NAM and the HRRR, looking at the snowfall totals and the wind chills, which are our feel-like temperatures with wind. Let's go look at that. Here's the 24-hour snowfall totals on the NAM 3K model. A little bit of a decent short range weather model. Then I will look at the HRRR, which is the best short range, in my opinion. So we see that same thing 1 to 2 for Arizona and Kentucky. That's already mainly passed out. Then we see Montana getting about a foot still. Arizona, North and Western North Dakota, and far Northwest South Dakota getting 1 to 3 to 4. Areas in Central South Dakota getting 1 to 4. Areas in Iowa, Central Iowa getting isolated areas of 1 to 5, and most areas being 1 to 4. Illinois getting 1 to 5, Indiana getting 1 to 5, and Ohio getting 1 to 6 for isolated areas in Ohio. As far as the NAM model will go out for our 24-hour snowfall totals, so basically agrees with what the GFS model is showing, and with the Canadian model showing it has a little bit more snow for areas in Ohio, and Illinois, and Indiana with 1 to 6 inches instead of 1 to 4 to 5. But let's look at our temperatures on here, and then I will also look at the temperatures on the HRRR. Here's our temperatures on this model. Feel like cold front drops down. Areas in the negative. This by the way, guys, this is not even our feel like temperatures. Yeah, I'll show that next. These are our actual temperatures. These are surface based temperatures without feel like. We see around the 12th, so early this afternoon. Sorry guys. We're looking at areas in North Dakota being in negative 3 to 4 in the morning, in the afternoon hours. Then as that cold front starts to dive down, we start to see areas in Minnesota go down into the -8. -10, -4. Go even more ahead in time. From the 13th to 14th, that's when it's expected to drop down to much of the U.S., with much of the U.S. getting down into the very low single digits. Northern U.S. getting down into very low single digits, negatives. This model does not go any farther out than that, but it has areas in Ohio getting about 13 degrees, 12 degrees, and isolated areas even less. Areas in Indiana, Illinois getting 5 to 6 degrees. Arkansas getting 12 to 16. Kentucky getting 12 to 16. And about 19 before it actually fully drops out into areas in West Virginia. Much of the Northeast even being down into almost a single digit. Let's look at our wind chills on here. This is our wind chills, guys. Basically our feel like temperatures factoring in the wind. Just go a little bit ahead in time. We see -25 wind chills in areas in far northern North Dakota. We see -22 in far eastern on the eastern North Dakota and western Minnesota border. Very equal to -27 in Minnesota. -3 in northern Iowa. Go even more ahead in time. So not seeing those big -50s anymore, luckily, but we are still seeing very high, like -20s, which is still freezing temperatures. Very, very cold. We're also looking at much of Ohio, going down to the negatives. Also, much of Indiana, Illinois, Ohio. The northern areas in Ohio and Illinois and Indiana are the coldest, with -15 in far northern Indiana and Illinois and even Ohio. Very, very, very cold temperatures expected for these areas. Even if it's not the normal temperature is not super cold, even then the normal temperatures are still either about 10 degrees or single digits or negatives for much of these areas. and areas in the Midwest. In the northern U.S., the only areas that are going to get negatives on the real temperatures. Sorry, I was yelling, guys. Sorry, but so very cold temperatures overall. We're going to have that because of how strong that jet stream is when the Arctic air blasts down. The jet stream, I'll show you that also on the HRRR, will be so strong that the upper atmosphere winds in the jet stream are going to be so strong that it's going to be driving such cold wind chills. But let's go check out our snowfall total on the HRRR, our temperatures, in our jet stream. That's going to be the last model I show in this video. Let's go check that out. Here's the GFS height wind showing our jet stream at 500 millibar. It is a little bit of an older model, so this could be a little bit messed wrong, but it's the last HRRR run that goes 40 hours out, which is the 6Z HRRR run. We're on the 10Z right now, so about 4 models runs behind. But it is the one that goes out the farthest. The other ones only go out 18 hours. We start to see that low dive down. On the 14th, the HRRR didn't go out too far with it, but you can see that low pressure system right there. The little circle is. And we see this very, very warm. That's 100, that reddish yellow color. That is 100 knots of wind in the upper atmosphere, in the mid atmosphere. So the 500 millibar area. We're looking at 100 knots of wind. It goes 80 to 100 knots across this whole red and yellow area. That's going to be bringing like very cold wind chills for these areas because of how much wind there is in this jet stream and dip down from this Arctic air blast. But let's go look at our snowfall total and then our temperatures. We're going to look at our total snow instead of our 24-hour snow. Here's a hint again, guys. This only goes out to the morning of the 14th. This only goes out to early Sunday morning, around very early Sunday morning, around 5-6 a.m. So we definitely want to take this with a grain of salt, though, guys. We're expecting more than this snow, but about 1 to 7 inches in Montana total snowfalls. 1 to 5 in areas in western South and North Dakota, and central South Dakota get 1 to 6 in isolated areas. Iowa with isolated areas of 1 to 8, mainly being 1 to 4 across much of Iowa. Northern and central Illinois could get 1 to 7. Indiana could get 1 to 6. And Ohio could get 1 to 6 and 1 to 4 across much of Ohio. Guys, I would expect Ohio to also probably get this 1 to 6, 1 to 7, possibly across much of Ohio. But again, this model only goes out to early morning Sunday, and the snow is not all the way down at that time. It's not always through Ohio areas. But it still does, basically, it kind of agrees with the Canadian weather model, actually. We kind of have a little bit of agreement with the Canadian model, just not as much as the Canadian model, almost the same, though. Oh, total snowfalls. So, there's a big difference there from the other models. And the HRRR is one of the very reliable models that we have. Let's take a peek at the newest model, but again, it only goes out 18 hours, but let's just take a look at it, see what it shows 18 hours out. Here is our newest HRRR model. It only shows out 13 hours right now because it's updating, but it basically only shows Montana areas getting 1 to 5. Let's look at our temperatures, guys, on the 6Z. Which is just the last model on 4 models ago, that on the HRRR that just shows the 48 hours out instead of only 18 hours out. Let's look at that again, and then we'll look at the temperatures. We'll look at the temperature on it. Here's our real temperatures on the HRRR model. Then we'll go eventually towards our, feel like again, some -10 in areas in North Dakota. -4 to 5 in areas, even 7, I said -7 areas in Minnesota. Even more down ahead. -7 in areas in Wisconsin. -3 in far northeast Iowa areas. This is real temperature. This is not even our wind chills. You see -7 in areas in northern Illinois. Central Indiana could get -3. Okay, guys, this is just our wind chill. This is not even our wind chills yet, guys. Let's go look at our wind chills. Here's our wind chills again, factoring in our wind. It gets -24 and -30 in areas in far northern North Dakota. -10, 11, -16 areas in Minnesota, even colder than that. -18, -20 plus. You even have areas with -30 in here. And in Minnesota areas. Isolated areas. We got even more ahead in time. As it moves down to areas in Wisconsin, -26, -28, -18 in northeast Iowa, -10 in areas in north Illinois, -6 in northern Indiana, and even negative, let's go even a little bit ahead in time, -5, -10 in areas in far northern Ohio, and much of Ohio, even central Ohio, being down into the -5s and 3s. Very, very, very cold temperatures again, guys. But that's going to be all for this video, guys, this forecast video. Thank you all so much for watching this forecast video. And make sure you guys like, subscribe for more. And again, make sure you guys are very safe. Drive safe on the road. It will be very snowy and very cold. Watch out for black ice or anything like that, because rain has fallen before this. So definitely be weather aware. And make sure you guys wear layers. Again, it's going to be very, 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 very cold for much of the East Coast, Northeast, Midwest, Northern U.S. But that's going to be all, like I said, for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe for more forecasts.